consult. It could be. Yes, that's it. Great. Let's present and let's Q&A.
Sounds good.
Is all ready? Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank the board for having us today. My name is Megan Lavins,
I'm Baxter Black. I'm Grant Kendall-Bell. And I'm Jake Flom.
and we represent the VP of Strategy. So here you can see a few of the headlines that Monsanto has been in within the past few months. Either mankind will stop Monsanto or Monsanto will stop mankind. Monsanto is dead. Long live Monsanto. We're here today because we know and you know the brand image Monsanto has, but even more so, the image that they will continue to have if we go down this path. Let's be honest, Monsanto isn't the most liked company around here, but that's why we're here, because we see an opportunity. We have a pilot program that we're presenting in Ghana that will pioneer an integrated business model, and it will do two things. It will, one, rebrand Monsanto while helping Ghana. We know our problem. We have a bad reputation and our profits are continuing to fall. How will we fix this? By making a scalable philanthropy that will be sustainable while also being cost effective. We plan to help Ghana by reducing poverty and increasing food security. Now how will we do this? By working with global partnerships such as USAID while also training local farmers and creating and delivering a marketing campaign. I'm now going to pass it off to Grant, who will further speak about Ghana.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks. All right. So in order to take the right approach, we studied reports by the World Bank and found a number of problems in Ghana. We wanted to ensure that we were listening to the actual needs of the Ghanaians, and we made extensive efforts to follow through with this. So we found that there are three key areas that we can specifically impact Ghana with the resources of Monsanto: assets, markets, and institutions. Under education and training, Monsanto can provide human capital to the Ghanaian farmers by training them to use sustainable farming techniques. Under rural finance and infrastructure, Monsanto can use its resources to supply any tools, seeds, fertilizers necessary for these farmers to follow through. And then under markets, first of all, under input markets, we can reduce the amount of imports for agricultural supplies that they need by directly supplying these farmers with our own fertilizers and seeds and whatnot. And then under exports, we can use our training and our influence on these farmers to help them to strengthen their crop yields and improve agricultural exports in their nation. Finally, under R&D, we are going to work with the Ghanaian scientists conjointly to develop and introduce a new drought-resistant cocoa bean that will be implemented and greatly increase cocoa bean crop yields. Now I'm going to pass it off to Jake to let you know about our marketing campaign.
Thanks so much, Grant. So we know there's a problem. We've established that. But the thing is, what Monsanto is doing right now is pioneering a new business strategy. And to get that done the right way, we need a comprehensive, integrated marketing campaign that's going to essentially completely change the way people see us. Now, we're talking about the Ghana pilot right now, which is what we made that decision. But these three steps are going to be useful anyway. The first step is promoting a pro-GMO education. Generally, people don't really agree with GMOs. They think they're scary, they think they're weird. It's important that we promote GMOs in a way that is through added popular print, broadcasting in general, make them seem like something that is completely palatable. And that's totally able to be done. The second step is tailoring these efforts to the community. In Ghana, that would be through harvest campaigns, or generally you're working with unions who have a very strong voice. However, the very important thing to do is target local perceptions of the brand. This is generally areas where people are more densely populated, such as cities, consumers of these places, as opposed to the farmers who we will incentivize, and we'll speak to that. And secondly, we'll respect and support local customs. The general concept about Monsanto is that it's almost a product invasion. What we need to do is establish that we support these people and want to make a dialogue. Lastly, we'll use this Ghana model and the general three steps to promote this everywhere. It's important that we are not promoting the Monsanto name per se, but the Monsanto values. We are value setting in a way that will change the way people perceive us and set Monsanto up to be perceived as a driver of scientific and economic progress, as opposed to what they've seen before. And we'll speak to that. Next slide, please. That's up. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. This is a three-step process, and the first step is education. Monsanto will team with USAID and Feed the Future to train farmers all across the world, or excuse me, all across the world. and everybody, but in Ghana particularly at the moment. What we're going to be doing is training particularly women, say about 60% to 40%, and training them about 100,000 for about $2 million. Now we know this will work because USAID trained 26,000 farmers just in the last year, and on top of that, generated $12.8 million of just general value of the agricultural sector, as well as generating yes, and that. Yeah. Anyway, that's my next. And the next step will be on next.
Thank you, Jake. For the second step of our strategy in Ghana, we plan to continue to support our educated farmers through the training program in partnership with USAID and Feed the Future through the African Agricultural Technological Foundation and their WEMA program. That's an acronym for Water Efficient Maize for Africa. This is a proven model of success that has been implemented in several East African countries, and we are ready to bring our expertise in producing drought-resistant varieties of corn and maize into Ghana. An important component of this is that we will be also organizing for the first time a cooperative of subsistence farmers that can then use their collective influence for bargaining power in the local and regional economy. Additionally, this model can be scaled by increasing royalties to make a profitable business for us. Now, our long-term strategy. It's important, first of all, to stipulate that this is an alternative strategy that is not dependent on either of the first two steps. So the plan is to partner with local scientists in Ghana to research and develop a drought-resistant species of cocoa bean. Why is this important? Climate change models show that in the next 15 years, the southwestern cocoa-producing region of Ghana will have an increase in severity and frequency of extreme drought. And cocoa production is vital to the country's economy. It constitutes 20% of all exports and is a massive driver of growth in the country. And if we lose that, then all of our efforts in the first two steps are in vain. So this is an alternative again, but also critical. And now, none of these come for free. There are costs associated. Training and support is $5 million annually. That's an estimate. And drought-resistant cocoa bean research and development is estimated at $10 million annually over 13 years. And it's also important to note that ROI will become positive for the first time in the third year at 6%. And we can get more into the finances of this during the Q&A session.
Okay, so during the planning of our pilot process, we saw it vital that our goals and motivations align with our stakeholders because we haven't done that in the past. So we created a salience map. On the x-axis, you can see the position on each stakeholder, y you can see the influence they have. And I would just like to point out a few. The first being the local government, the Ghanaian government. We understand that originally they may be hesitant to this because of our image and the lack of trust they have with us. However, we plan to take a proactive opposed to a reactive approach and be completely transparent with them because we understand that our goals align with what they need and we want to make that transparent. Another one I would like to point out is the media. We understand that we have a target on our back. We have this poor image. I mentioned that in the first slide. However, after Jake mentioned our media plan, we want to work with them coherently and they can be used as a tool to make this sustainable and we can grow it worldwide. I'm now going to pass it over to Grant.
All right, thanks. So moving forward into Ghana, we recognize that there are a number of risks and concerns that we're going to run into. First, there are political problems, the biggest of which being government pushback. We understand that the government of Ghana is firmly against NGOs, and additionally, they do not like foreign intervention in their agricultural market. But we plan to use our partnerships with USAID and as well as other organizations in the area to address this problem. Under PR concerns, we understand that there is a huge problem of Monsanto's reputation, and once again, we have our marketing campaign that we hope will address the majority of these concerns. Under environmental risks, this includes water contamination as well as over-farming, but once again, we have our sustainable farming techniques, which we'll train our Ghanaian farmers with in order to mitigate these risks. Finally, there's some logistical issues, including budgeting and implementation, which we have factored into this. So finally, we come to the business rationale. And as an overall effort, we know that collective efforts from Monsanto will add long-term value to Monsanto's value chain. And as we shift from a traditional philanthropic style to a CSR integrated business model, we know that a lot of necessary steps will be taking place, including the implementation of sustainable farming practices, involvement of the community, as well as creating opportunity for Ghanaians. So we want to improve our international reputation, which this will do, utilize existing partnerships in order to do this, and continue to develop our sustainable supply chain.
Key points to take home from this is we're using partnerships that are on the ground in Ghana to minimize initial costs as well as keep in line with the company sentiment of reducing our name exposure. For the first time, we're implementing our WEMA program model of success that was highly successful in East Africa. We are researching and developing.
Thank you. For questions.
I was intrigued by a comment that sort of almost went by my thoughts, because it was stated quickly. And you indicated that there would be a positive ROI on this after 3 years. And I saw the costs, but how are you going to get revenue to produce a return on investment?
Right, so this is up to company management, but the idea behind it would be that using data from Feed the Future and USAID, they were able to generate $13 million of added value, so we extrapolated some numbers from that based on the amounts we expect to be training, and increasing royalties on seed prices of maize and soybeans by a third each year after the second year that they've been in the training.
So you're going to charge royalties, and that's how we're going to get a return on investment.
Over time, gradually increasing them in stages.
Is it ROI to Monsanto or ROI include farmers' income?
To Monsanto. To Monsanto. The farmers will be profiting from this even if we're not making money because of the program.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins.
Seems to be, that's the end goal.
So are you focusing on maize or cocoa?
So the focus in the first two stages is on maize, but we see that the risk of climate change impacting the cash crop of cocoa is a severe risk, and we think that we can employ our company's expertise in creating drought-resistant hybrid species to and keep it in line with our 21st century principles of corporate social responsibility, align those two interests, make a profit, and protect the food security and economic security of the country at the same time.
Is what we do best.
What would your market share have to be percentage-wise in order to make your ROI?
Is this in for the maize in the first two stages?
For both.
For both? Okay, so this is a price ratio of cocoa beans to maize. They're both measured in metric tons. As you can see, over the last 5 years, cocoa has increased drastically over maize. Maize, we expect to be making money on the royalties of seed sales to farmers, so it's less directly proportionate to markets. Whereas cocoa beans, we expect to be making money, again, selling the seeds to these companies, but it will likely be somewhat of a cornered market because there's no other technology being worked on right now to produce drought-resistant cocoa beans.
So,
Go ahead.
so your call for sustainability is for us to engineer a new crop.
No.
Right.
It's important to stipulate that is a long-term alternative. Our call for sustainability comes from implementing the WEMA model, water efficient maize for Africa, and by training these farmers in sustainable cultivation practices, as well as empowering women and also providing subsidies for these seeds in collective co-op of subsistence farmers.
It's also important to note that WEMA has done exceptional, it's done a very good job of fitting its goals in Eastern Africa. So we have confidence that it will be a system that will work for us.
For Ghana as well.
From Ghana, right?
Your most significant issue, or one of them, is that your seeds are GMOs. And there is a very anti-GMO posture, both by the country and by the farmers. You talked about PR around that. Two questions. One, are there any models that you saw out there for companies that have been able to help use PR to shift the mindset in a country on a particular agricultural product? And then the second piece of that would be, how much will that cost and how long will it take you to get there?
So to address your first question, there are no, I'm sure there are a number of models, but the crux of what we understood about these seeds is that what they allow, and yeah, this perfect picture, is what they allow is much more production of agricultural products. So they allow the subsistence farmers of Ghana, which is a large majority, to produce a lot more and feed themselves. And the important thing is bringing much more food into the community of subsistence farmers.
Certainly, and I was just, go ahead. Yeah, I was direct effects model particularly, just talking directly to people, having a scientific approach to these is going to be really effective because first of all, we're speaking to the densely populated areas, the cities, generally people who are a little bit more wealthy to combat poverty and also to combat environmental change is going to be a really, really important thing. Generally, these people have an income that they've spent, and I'd say in terms of a model that you're looking at, something that can be comparable, even the system of making kale, kale's growth in the United States has grown rapidly as a result of marketing, strong marketing in the United States, that it is both, I guess, a healthy alternative as well as much more efficient for water is a great example. I think we've seen that grow, especially in the last 5 years. Oh, yeah, I can as well. This is the marketing budget that I've projected personally, and we've projected as a team, likely, is around $200,000. It works, it's built into the training aspect of it, so that's where the majority of that budget comes from. Mostly because it's going to be necessary while these people are gaining their training, it's going to, communal support is really going to be what we perceive is going to back that and support the progress as it moves forward. So that's where the budget is coming from.
I see the $5 million initially, you said $10 million a year annually, I don't see that here.
$10 million a year is the research and development cost, which is right down here. You can see this is the total, including R&D. This is R&D research. This is the first two stages, right? So the WEMA program with maize in Africa would be about $5 million annually. And then the Kogod bean research and development would add an additional $10 million. And then your total is up here. Whereas we like to just focus on this one because people often get confused by throwing in the alternative research and development. This is the core model right here.
Just curious, what did you all learn from the Walmart case study that you're applying to your approach here?
Yeah, we learned how important it is to work with pre-existing organizations. When Walmart went into, I believe, Bangladesh, they tried to go grassroots from the bottom up, and they ran into all sorts of communication, financing, and marketing issues. Whereas when they went into Rwanda, they partnered with, I believe it was USAID, who was already on the ground, and they were able to be much more effective, much more efficient with their resources.
And also at one point, in the Walmart case, it does mention that they were reworking and rehiring people on the team, which delayed the entire project by 5 months and time is money. So we plan to create a team, all be on the same page to prevent lacking of time and delays.
Why would these NGOs want to partner with us? We have such a bad reputation there.
Because we are the best at creating the product that they need, which is the seeds. No one else can do it better than us. And they know that, and we know that, and they also know that we are trying to change our image on a global perspective. And I think that we are so ingrained in the industry of agriculture that it's inevitable we're going to be the most efficient, the cheapest, and the most advanced option for them.
Right. And to add what Bax was saying, these NGOs, their main goal is often to help the people to improve the lives, raise the standard of living, and this is exactly aligned with our new CSR model. So we're showing them that we are changing our brand, we're changing the way we do business, our values, and aligning it with the actual values of the NGOs. So we hope they recognize that.
So I just added, it's not just talking more, it's really walking the walk with this one. It's absolutely, it's a new campaign, a new way to do business.
And being transparent about it. We're not denying our past, we're being proactive, not reactive to the situation, and that's what's really going to gain trust with them.
I think NGOs will also be appreciative of it because it's a scalable program. You can apply this, maybe you change some of the details, but you can apply this to almost any country around the world to
Sustainable
get
and
your feet on
growable.
the ground. And I think NGOs are looking for that business mindset, they're looking for that productivity and that efficiency, which we can provide.
I look at numbers. I see here you're going to train 100,000 farmers for $2 million. That's $20 per farmer. Have you underestimated this cost of getting 100,000 people trained?
Actually, we got these costs from previous programs that have been done. Walmart, when they were in Rwanda, they trained 50,000 workers for $1 million. The WEMA program trained about 120,000 workers for about 250, yeah, I believe it was 250 million, I forget that number. But we've looked at previous programs, and of course this is an estimate, but this is what we've been able to extrapolate.
why focus on women when they have a higher illiteracy rate than men?
Because women, when you empower women, you empower the household. And creating gender equality is a huge component of CSR because women already outnumber men in Ghana by 1%, but it's still significant when you're talking about a population of 25 million. And particularly in the regions of northern Ghana, where we'd be focusing, women